The city lights shimmered against the wet pavement, turning the streets into mirrors of gold and silver. The faint hum of evening traffic filled the air, and the scent of rain still lingered, soft, clean, and a little sad. Maya stood near the entrance of the elegant restaurant, her thin coat clutched tightly around her. The wind brushed her hair across her face, but she didn't move. Her hands were trembling, not from the cold, but from the thought of what she was about to do. She had promised herself she'd never step back into the world of wealth and charm, the one that had humiliated her before. But tonight, fate had drawn her back. Her ex, Daniel, was inside. The same Daniel who had once sworn he loved her, only to walk away when he discovered she had nothing to offer but dreams and a poor girl's hope. Inside that restaurant, Daniel was celebrating his engagement to a woman whose smile sparkled with diamonds. Maya wasn't invited, of course. She was only there because her friend from the catering team had called her for help at the last minute. "We're short on servers," her friend had said. "It's good money for one night." Money. That was what Maya needed most. Rent was due. The little apartment she called home felt colder each night, and her mother's medical bills kept stacking up. So she'd come, tying her hair back neatly, wearing the plain uniform the catering company provided. But when she saw Daniel laughing at the center table, the same man who once held her hands under the stars, her breath caught. His new fiancée leaned close to him, whispering something that made him laugh even harder. For a moment, Maya felt small, invisible, forgotten. She tried to focus on her work, carrying trays of drinks between tables, smiling politely, ignoring the whispers of the wealthy guests who barely looked at her. Everything was going fine, until Daniel's fiancée noticed her. "Wait," the woman said, her tone sharp. "Aren't you Daniel's ex?" The room quieted, heads turned. Maya froze in place. Daniel's expression changed, first surprise, then embarrassment. "Maya," he said slowly, "you're working here." There was no cruelty in his voice, but there was pity, and that hurt even more. Maya's lips parted, but no words came. The other guests chuckled softly, their gazes heavy with judgment. The fiancée smiled sweetly, but her eyes glittered with superiority. "How interesting," she said. "Well, it's nice to see you're doing something productive." Maya's cheeks burned. She turned away, wishing the ground would swallow her whole. That's when a deep, calm voice came from behind her. "She's with me." The room turned again, this time toward a tall man in a tailored black suit. His presence filled the space effortlessly. Broad shoulders, dark hair slightly tousled, and eyes that seemed to look right through the crowd. Everyone recognized him instantly. Ethan Cole, the CEO of Cole Industries, one of the city's most powerful men. Daniel blinked in surprise. "Ethan, you know her?" Ethan walked forward, his gaze never leaving Maya. "Of course," he said evenly. "She's my girlfriend." The room fell silent. The soft music from the corner seemed to fade away. Maya's heart pounded in her chest. For a moment, she thought she'd misheard him. "Girlfriend?" Daniel's fiancée laughed nervously. "You're joking, right?" Her. Ethan's expression didn't change. "Do I look like I'm joking?" he asked coolly. The fiancée's laughter died instantly. Maya stood frozen, tray trembling in her hands. Ethan stepped closer, his voice low enough for only her to hear. "Just play along," he murmured. "You don't deserve to be treated like this." Her throat tightened. In that instant, she understood. He was helping her, giving her a way to stand tall. In front of those who had once crushed her. She nodded faintly. Ethan took the tray from her hands and set it aside. Then, to everyone's astonishment, he gently took her hand. "I've been waiting for you," he said softly. "You're late." Maya blinked, unsure whether to smile or cry. "Sorry," she whispered, barely managing to play along. The crowd murmured. Daniel's face turned pale. His fiancée's smile faltered. Ethan's grip was firm but kind as he led Maya toward an empty table near the window. He ordered 2 glasses of champagne, as if this were any ordinary date. The other guests watched in silence, whispering behind their hands. When the waiter left, Maya finally looked up at him. "Why did you do that?" she asked, her voice trembling. Ethan's gaze softened. "Because no one should have to beg for dignity," he said. "You didn't deserve what just happened." Tears stung her eyes. She turned her face away, pretending to look out at the rain. "You don't even know me." He smiled faintly. "Maybe not, but I know what it's like to be humiliated in a room full of people who think they're better than you." His words hung in the air like a quiet confession. For a while, they just sat there, letting the noise of the restaurant fade into the background. The waiter returned with their drinks. Maya touched the glass but didn't drink. Ethan Cole, she said softly. You're not supposed to be here with someone like me. He chuckled under his breath. You're assuming I care about what people think. The warmth in his voice made her chest ache in a strange, unfamiliar way. A few tables away, Daniel couldn't stop staring. His fiancée whispered something sharp in his ear, but he didn't respond. The sight of Ethan, the city's most admired millionaire, holding Maya's hand like she was someone precious was more than he could handle. Maya noticed, and for the first time that night, she didn't look away. She met Daniel's eyes, steady and calm. And slowly, she smiled. It wasn't a vengeful smile, just peaceful. The kind that said you can't hurt me anymore. Later that evening, after the guests began leaving and the chatter softened, Ethan offered to walk her outside. The air was cold again, and the rain had started to fall in thin, silvery drops. They stopped under the awning, the streetlights reflecting off the puddles at their feet. Thank you, Maya said quietly. For saving me tonight. Ethan shook his head. You don't owe me thanks. You saved yourself. I just gave you a little cover. She laughed softly. Still, it meant more than you know. He looked down at her, his eyes thoughtful. You're stronger than you think, Maya. She blinked. How do you know my name? He smiled faintly. I asked one of the staff. I wanted to make sure I addressed my girlfriend properly. Her cheeks warmed, and for the first time that night, she truly smiled. There was something gentle about him, a calmness that didn't match his reputation as a ruthless businessman. Maybe, she thought, the rumors were only half true. They stood there for a long moment, listening to the rain. Then Ethan reached into his pocket and handed her a small business card. If you ever need work, he said, come by my office. I'm looking for someone honest to help with a charity project. You'd fit right in. Maya hesitated. You don't have to do that. I know, he said simply. But I want to. Days turned into weeks. Maya did go to his office, not because she expected anything, but because something about his words had stayed with her. True to his promise, he gave her a job. Not a fancy one, but honest work, managing donations for a local shelter his company supported. She found herself surrounded by kindness again, rebuilding her confidence piece by piece. Ethan often stopped by the department, not as a boss, but as someone who cared. They'd share coffee during breaks, sometimes talking about nothing at all, the weather, a new book, the smell of rain. It was easy, unforced, and slowly, the line between pretending and feeling began to blur. One afternoon, as they left the office together, Maya glanced up at him and asked, do you ever regret helping me that night? He stopped, looking genuinely surprised. Regret it? No. That night reminded me what mattered. What do you mean? He smiled softly. I've built my life on power, success, and control. But none of that means much if you forget to be human. You helped me remember that. Her heart swelled quietly. That evening, as they walked through the same rain-soaked streets where they first met, Ethan stopped under the same awning. The world felt quieter this time, gentler. He turned to her. Do you remember what you said that night? She laughed nervously. That night I said a lot of embarrassing things. He chuckled. You said, act like you love me. Maya's cheeks turned pink. Oh, right, I did. He stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't have to act anymore. Her breath caught. The streetlight flickered softly between them, painting their faces in golden light. Maya searched his eyes, deep, steady, and full of sincerity. No audience, no pretense, no pity. Just quiet truth. The rain fell harder now, but neither of them moved. Ethan brushed a strand of hair from her cheek and smiled. I love you, Maya, he said simply. Tears welled in her eyes. She didn't need grand gestures or promises. Just this, warmth, honesty, and peace. For the first time in years, she felt seen. And as she leaned into him, letting the sound of rain fill the silence, she realized something beautiful. Sometimes, the act you think will save your pride ends up saving your heart instead.